Okay. All right, I'd like to call to order the Town of Carver Capital Outlay Committee. Today is February 26th, and it is 7:04 p.m. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you, Area 58, for recording tonight. So I passed out the agenda, but since we have 3 people who are going to talk to us about their capital outlay request, I thought we would just start with you guys first. Does anybody want to go first? It's up to you guys. Okay. Just so you guys know, tonight what we wanted to do is just get you guys in, so you don't have to come in again and just get this, under our belt, what everybody's really asking for, even though we met back in January.
Yep.
I'm not sure if anything has changed since then. I think the amount of money that we have has changed, but I'm not sure if it's still gonna cover all the requests.
Yeah.
So that's our biggest issue that we're having. I did pass out to everybody we have all your requests here. And this came from, I believe, Elaine Weston and Bob. I just want to make sure this is still the same, and if there's a chance we have to cut something, I want you guys to be the ones to say, this could wait till next year. I'm hoping we don't have to
Sure.
do that,
Yep.
but it does still look like from the report that they gave us on Friday, we have $1,509,000, so a little under $1,600,000 to spend, but the total requests are at $2,362,000. So that's sort of the predicament that we're still in.
Okay.
I have to get more explanation of what's going on. It looks to me like what they did is they took the $400,000+ from last year that we had said we were gonna put towards this year. Just so you guys know, there was some money last year we didn't spend because we bonded. And we said we'll use that money for capital for next year. And then they gave us a portion of free cash, which was about $1,000,001. That's not how capital used to be funded. Just so you know, so we will ask them to go back to the drawing board at revenue and redo that forecast sheet, just because that's how, looks like the funding is today, that's not how it used to be funded
Yep.
in the prior years. But I just wanted to be honest with you guys, so there's not enough money right now today in the bucket to cover everything.
Yep.
But I thought if we went through everything, we could see what we had, or if there was anything still on the list that maybe could get pushed off to next year.
Okay.
We don't want to be the ones to say
Sure.
push it off, we're
Yep.
hoping you guys might know.
Yep, understood. Okay, so I'll start. Mine's fairly simple. I had 3 requests in for this year. One was to replace a 1-ton dump truck with a 3/4-ton pickup. That serves, I have 2 groundskeepers and they have 2 vehicles. Both are in bad shape. Actually, the one I'm replacing did not pass state inspection last year, so that's why I'm looking to replace that. That serves the groundskeepers through all 4 seasons and also as a plow truck for us for the winter. The next request I had was for $100,000, and that was just a continuation of upgrading. I would be using that for interior lighting at the middle high school to do another section of lighting that is currently fluorescent lighting to switch to LED lighting. And the third request, which I believe was submitted through the select board possibly, but kind of came under my umbrella,
Yep.
was for $50,000 for a feasibility study. And that was to look at the town's current situation for buildings and also what options the town would have with those buildings, probably what would best suit them. Primarily, and what that would be looking at would be your current Atwood House, the Council on Aging, the abandoned building next door, which used to be House Fire Headquarters and the police station, and also the current EMS.
Okay.
So it would kind of look at those 3 areas.
And is 50,000 about what, I feel like I always see 50 for feasibility
That
studies.
would about cover that's general, would cover the feasibility. If you're asking me to prioritize them, the one thing my number 1 not to lose would be the truck. I really need the truck.
And is that enough, 60,000?
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep, it's just a basic 3/4-ton pickup, not a dump truck or anything, and that'll be a 3/4-ton standard cab pickup with a plow.
Okay.
Yep. The next one, I could split these. I could do a few things. The 100,000 I can reduce.
Okay,
It can go away. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to put in for, also grants, federal state grants through the DOER, which they
Okay.
just came through last week and looked at what we did with their money last year. They typically like to match grants, however, it's not mandatory. And I've been doing work with them for 5 or 6 years now, and I think they see the work we're doing is making improvements. So I spoke with the woman that came out from Department of Energy Resources, and I said, if, you know, they're not matching, she said, no, they tend to like to see that, but it's not a mandate.
Okay.
So we could always reduce that, cut that in half, we could do away with it and take our chances. And the third one for the feasibility study, here's the thing on that, we could kick that down the road a year if needed, in my opinion, because the reality is the town's not in a financial
yeah,
situation to do anything with the results
okay.
within a year anyways.
With the buildings aging out, is that okay to move it down the road?
It's okay. EMS is okay where they are. It was more so, the Atwood House will have much more needs in the future than EMS will if you want to prioritize them. And the other thing is to look at, with these buildings next door here, we don't want to leave those empty forever. They're going to become an eyesore.
Yeah.
Can we repurpose them before they get into, you know, a decrepit state, or what should we do? So that's kind of what the feasibility study would serve a few purposes.
Yeah.
Yep. But that could always be slid a year if needed.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you guys have questions about?
No, I do remember the Council of Aging building was on your list for the feasibility study.
Yes,
That'll be okay another year too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because the reality is, even if they came back and, it's more so, it's not, we know the condition of the Atwood House and what we're up against, and we're doing things we can. We're not gonna put any large money into that building, just because reality is, it's really not worth.
Yeah.
Put money into that building for the purpose it serves. It's not the best design for it. So in the future, down the road, if we were going to do something for the Council on Aging, would they be best suited? Can this building be repurposed? Should they have a different building? So it's to look at that. But it's not like next year is the last year for them to be there. That's
Right.
not the case.
Yeah. Thank you, we appreciate
Yep, no,
that.
you're welcome.
We're just, you know, again, looking, because if it comes down to it, we may have to prioritize
Sure,
everything.
yeah, no, understood. Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
No, thanks for
All right.
coming in
Oh,
tonight.
you're welcome. I'll stay anyways in case anything comes up.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Chief Dugley.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Sure. So, you've asked me to talk about the capital request for FY '25. We have our usual request for 2 cruisers, one request for an admin cruiser, and a request to replace the duty firearms that the officers carry. If you don't mind, I'll start with the cruisers.
Sure.
So, I don't know how familiar you are with the program. I've talked about it over the past 11 years numerous times, but we have a cruiser program which assigns one cruiser to each officer. It's similar to what the state police does, and it took a lot to get this program built up from 2005 till now. The program is very beneficial in that it saves us a lot of money in major repairs. Although this year we've had we had some glitches with that, but overall it saves us a lot of money in repairs. So we change the oil, we change the brakes, change tires, but we don't see a lot of major engine failure, transmission failure, because the cruiser is assigned to one person, is being driven by one person. It's taken care of better, and we've saved a considerable amount of money. In the past, I didn't break it out for tonight, but in the past we've compared our maintenance costs to towns like Hanson or Plimpton or Middleborough, where they don't have that, where they have multiple officers driving the same cruiser. And we've found always our maintenance cost per cruiser is lower. One of the great benefits that we realized in the program throughout COVID was our officers office is their cruiser. Right? It has all their equipment in it. It's how they do their job. It's how they get to the homes of the people that need help. And during COVID, we were able to assign the cruiser to them to take home. They came to work. They never had to come in the station, just signed on the air and stayed in the cruiser, helping us to separate everybody and keep COVID from getting into the department, which would have been devastating had we had, 5, 6 officers out with COVID at a time. We wouldn't have been able to staff as we needed. So it was a nice benefit to this program that I don't think anybody even realized prior to its inception. But to do that, we need to replace about 2 cruisers every year. The cruisers are designed, the program is designed to last 7 years. Each cruiser is designed to last 7 years or 155,000 miles. Now, we've never got to 155,000 miles, but we have gotten to 8 to 10 years on some of the cars when need be. The value of continuing the program is that in years, as this year where we might have to make cuts, if we had to, we could always push it off a year, but we've got to make that up in the following year. But it has given us the opportunity in the past, even before I got here, the past 15 years, to go a few years without having to purchase any so that we could defer that money to something else that needed to happen that year. So there's a value to keeping it. We would like to continue that program this year to replace 2 Mach cruisers. As everything's gone up, the cost of a Mach cruiser with everything in it is about $75,000. So our request is for $150 for those 2 Mach cruisers. I'd like to be able to keep that moving forward. But again, obviously we do understand if the checking account doesn't have the money, then we can't do that. Now, next up is our admin cruisers. Admin cruisers are the cruiser that I drive, the cruiser that the deputy chief drives, the cruisers that the 2 detectives drive, and the cruiser that our admin sergeant drives. Those are cruisers that are not on the front line, so they're not going to calls usually at high rates of speed or getting involved in chases or such like that. So we've been very successful over the years purchasing used vehicles for that. We started with some used cruisers from Duxbury in the past. We've got a couple of 2013 cruisers that we got from Hingham, and we paid $2,500 a piece for them. They're still on the road today, but those are up for replacement. We had put into the capital plan to replace 1 every year for 5 years, but Sergeant Kelly, who does our fleet program for us, last year was able to take the money that we assigned to that and find 2 used cruisers. We had $50,000 assigned to it. We found 2 used Chevy cruisers that fit the mileage that we need for the green community and that we were able to get for about $30,000. So for $60,000, we got 2 to replace 2 of the admin cars. Mm-hmm. So we have 2 left. If we'd like to leave the $50,000 in place and try to do that again this year. And I'm not sure if we'll be successful at that or not, but we do have that as a marker. It says 1 admin cruiser, and that's what it would cost about to buy a new admin cruiser, but we've found that we can be very successful in buying used ones and still making that work and getting that done. So we'd like to leave that in if we can, but again, we could cut, if we cut out the admin cruisers and left the Mach, we could make that work if we had to. And finally, we have a request to replace our firearms. The firearms are the handguns that the officers carry on their side every day. And firearms in private ownership might last forever. Firearms in police work have a shelf life expectancy about 8 to 10 years. They're on their hips all the time in all the weather. We spend a lot of rounds every year qualifying and practicing with them. And they're still fine. We've had them for about 11 years right now. The last firearms we had before that, we had about 22 years. But it's on the capital plan because it makes a lot of sense to. And in addition to that, technology has changed in the past 11 years. The sighting systems that are on many handguns are just iron sights. But now technologies have come across with what's called a red dot optic, which is a small scope with a red dot on it. It makes for much quicker target acquisition and much greater accuracy. A few years back, we outfitted all of our patrol rifles, which was what our officers would be using if they went into an active shooter situation, with those to increase their accuracy and target acquisition. And that's one of our, obviously, if our officers have to draw their firearm and use it in the line of duty, it's one of the most dangerous things they're going to do, and it's also one of the biggest liabilities we have, is to make sure that we've given them the equipment that they need to perform that job as well as they possibly can. We give them a great deal of training to be prepared for that, and we've put in to replace the firearms at the 11-year mark, or it'd be the 12-year mark by then, which is a very reasonable time to do it. But that's definitely one that we could kick a year or two if we had to. The firearms that we have are in decent shape and still will be fine. They've been maintained very well by our armorer, but it would be something that we would eventually need to do. So those are the three that we have. So I think it's $225,000 all total. So if we need to cut something, we're happy to discuss that further with you guys or answer any questions you might have with it.
Could you prioritize what's the most important? Just so we have the list.
Yep,
I know they all are.
Just the way that I put it, I think I would go with the mock cruisers first, because again, those are our first line of defense or our first line of response to emergencies. Having the best tires and brakes and newest cars in the cars that are going to people's homes or are involved in a chase or responding to an accident is where we need to prioritize the best equipment. Next, I would say the admin, the money for the admin cars, and finally the firearms.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions other than that? All right.
You guys? No, we appreciate that you came in tonight.
Oh, of course,
We
anytime.
really
No.
do.
Yep.
And we're hoping this is it. We're not gonna do this again for this
No
this
worries.
budget
Happy to answer any
season.
questions or help out any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Before I start, I know we did the meeting back before. Did anyone get capital? Do you have it?
We do.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Before I do get too far along here, just a little disclaimer. My health is not quite where it was still, so just so you know, I might not be saying, you'll see. I'm sorry. Just have a little patience. So you have our capital outlay updates, 10 years. It didn't change from last year, so we really just moved one year ahead. So there are 4 projects. I will prioritize that for you, and certainly we can make adjustments, okay? And we always do, and we always will. The first one is probably our most important project, is the rehab of our existing brush breaker 2.9. This is the 3rd brush breaker that we've rehabbed. It is now the oldest, at 26 years old. We're currently rehabbing one right now called 2.8. That'll be finished in March. That budget was extremely tight, and actually we're probably going to go over a little bit, but that's our issue, and we'll figure that out. This one, again, is 26 years old. This will be the last one that we restore. After we're done with this, we envision that these vehicles will last at least another 10 years. The cost of a new one of these vehicles is well over $750,000. So the cost for $265,000, although it seems like a lot, and it is certainly more affordable. Understand that what we're finding, and the chiefs can say the same thing, is to have an apparatus refurbed is increasing at about 22% a year. So by not doing this, if we don't do it this year, so last year as an example, last year we budgeted $175,000. We're probably gonna run about $10,000 or $15,000 short. But we had no choice because we had to put the bid out. The second bid that came in was almost $300,000. The vendor we chose, we bid it twice, they chose to do it for $175,000. So we gotta work with them a little bit. Next year, that same vendor has priced it around $265,000, and that's how that comes up. We wait another year, you're gonna be excess of well over $300,000, well over it. And again, if we went with a new apparatus, that's going about 15% a year. That's what it's accelerating at. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know how people are gonna survive and where this is headed. The point of that is that's why our projects and all the ones we're gonna talk about tonight are all rehab projects. Okay, that's what the direction we're trying to head. We're fortunate that our vehicles have been kept very clean and very good for a long time. And by putting some money into them, probably a portion, they can last for a long time. So we don't have these huge things. So that's my priority one. And again, this was well established for quite a long time, how we were gonna try to do this. I'm gonna skip to our priority 2. That's the rehab of our existing water rescue boat. That's $25,000. That was purchased in 2008, and it's 17 years old as of now. There's a number of reasons why that needs to be restored. We have, if you've ever seen our boat, it's a rigid hull boat, but it's surrounded by, we call them hypalons, they're like inflatable tubes. Some of those sections are starting to deflate. So every couple days, we have to make sure it stays the way it's supposed to. We'll be okay, but there's a problem. The motor and the electronics, the trim around the bottom, those all need to be restored. It just, anyone who's had a watercraft knows it's probably the hardest thing in the world to try to maintain for a long time. When it gets to be 17 years old, it's time. This craft is used by our dive team. It's used by our firefighters for water rescues and underwater rescues. It's the only one we have for water rescues and for these types of scenarios, so it is that important. So that would be my priority too. And this is something that, it will be a rehab. We have gotten the quotes. I think this could be done pretty quickly once we get the go-ahead, and then just move on, okay? My priority 3 is going to be the rehab of our training building. Not the whole building, but all we're talking about is the burn rooms for the building. If you've ever been to the headquarters, you see the large building in the back. That's our training facility. That's a state-of-the-art facility. Our firefighters and officers use that on a weekly basis, and what has come from that to our department has been irreplaceable, okay? The training, everything that's come with it. The building was purchased in 2017, and the burn rooms, which is 3 of them, where we can have high heat fires, where we do our trainings in a controlled area. 2 of them have started to show compromises. This is not excess use from us. There's nothing that we did. It's nothing what the building or the vendor did. When we purchased it, this was well known that after so many years, these areas would have to be restored a little bit. This isn't a full restoral. It's the linings of the ceilings and some of the walls. And they recommended doing it about 7 years. Okay, so that's kind of where we are. If I took you a tour in there and you looked at the ceiling, the temperatures in there get in excess of 1,200 degrees. So you'll see warping of the ceiling inside. Some of that is normal, and some of that is if you get too much of that warping, the flames and the heat will actually penetrate the insulation areas. And when that happens, that's where you start to get compromised, okay? So we don't want that to happen. We want to deal with it. This is a priority 3, I would say. We estimated at $75,000. I will be honest with you, it's higher. That's what the price is. The reason the price is probably the smallest portion is the equipment to do it. The larger portion is because it has to be done by, how do you say it? By bid, but by,
Like a contract?
like, yeah,
Oh,
like,
bid for it.
can't say it, but a high price
Yes.
to get those people to do it, okay? So that's where the cost
Would
comes
it
from.
greatly reduce it to just do the 2 that are showing the signs?
That's all we're gonna do is the 2.
Oh, okay,
No, we're
that's
not.
just for the
Yeah,
2.
so we do have 3. One of them is fine. It'll be fine for a while because it doesn't get as much use as the rest.
Okay.
So we are just doing 2,
Okay.
okay? That's the plan.
Mhm.
You know, it is a 3rd priority, and it'll stay that. My fear is with this one, that first of all, this stuff takes time to get. Materials are getting very hard. You know, I don't know when we're gonna get it and they're gonna do it. So the last thing we wanna see is this be, the building not be able to be used, okay? For that particular area, because that would not be good for us. So if there's a way to fund that, I would ask you to try to fund that, if we could, okay? The final one I have is certainly the most controversial, whatever, something like that. But it comes with some discussions and some recommendations. If you pay attention to our capital plan for almost 10 years now, we've been trying to buy an aerial apparatus, okay? It's well past the time. And, you know, we're just I'm making excuses now of why not to buy one, okay? And we've gotten away with it, and we still will, but you don't have to watch or listen to too many stories around different towns and the fires they have and the emergencies that go, and people get hurt, okay? So this is the one piece of apparatus we do not have. There's only one other town beside us that does not have it in Plymouth County. That's not an excuse. That's not saying we need to have it because we're the only one. That's not what I'm saying. What I make that statement is how important it is to have these types of apparatus, okay? Right now, our firefighters use an land ladder of 35 feet that we carry around, okay? It works, and we make it work, but it doesn't keep people off the roof. It doesn't keep people safe from elevated areas. So I could tell you right now that we gotta spend $2 million, and obviously I know how that's gonna go right now. We used to have what was called a capital stabilization account. Previous town administrators had set up this account, and what it was is separate from the capital outlay committee. It was just for capital stabilization. And it funded our facilities, it funded a lot of things. And it also funded, it had $1 million in it. And if there was something that happened, a loader from the DPW, if we needed to get a new piece of apparatus or in a real pinch, that money was set aside always if it was needed. It was there till recently, let's just say that. It is what it is. That has no money now, okay? What I'm suggesting is documentation be created that we start putting monies into a specific account that is labeled for this specific purpose. So we have it, and we can start building for it. I suggested $250,000 a year. I know that's probably not reasonable right now, so that's my fourth priority. But you gotta start somewhere, and something that costs $2 million right now is gonna cost more later. So if we can even do that a couple years, the money that we can save by adding that to a bond or that to something else, we get a lot closer to getting it done, okay? The other thing you should know, it's a 3-year wait for these apparatus. That's what they are right now, 36 months from the time it's ordered. Now, maybe you could find one that's already been completed and try to customize it a little bit, like off the shelf. I doubt it, but maybe. So we have to do something, and I know you're gonna be getting a new finance director, and we got some, hopefully some positive reasons we're heading here. I can't express enough that we have to start redeveloping the Outlay Committee fund, and we have to start putting something like this in a priority. Even if it's $100,000, whatever the number is, we gotta start somewhere. The one idea I did have, and I'm probably gonna pursue very effective, a lot, is we bought 3 fire engines, and I looked it up, in 2015, 2016. The cost of that was $1.8 million. We bought them all 3 at the same time. That was bonded. From what I can see from reports, it looks like that about $210,000, $175 in principal and $35 in interest, is paid to the bond every year. And I believe it's a 10-year bond.
It is, yeah, it's falling off.
So that's gonna fall off. And I would advocate wholeheartedly, before we just let that fall off, and that will just go poof. I mean, it'll go to somewhere. That money's being paid, and we're paying it every year, and, like it or not, we're paying it.
Yeah, it's out of our debt payments that we make,
Okay.
just so you
So,
guys know.
so I would advocate that we find a way to send out a bond, or a lease, or whatever it takes, where you could almost pay for that in that same revolving that, without any new cost to anybody, okay? Now, it doesn't lower your taxes, but it doesn't increase them, okay? You're already paying the money. So, and it's not gonna go down anyways, trust me. So, if we could figure out a way where maybe we could start small with this account, and my intent would be, I'd need your help to really look through it, especially with the new finance directors. How do we roll that over?
Yeah.
How do we make that happen so we can move forward? And how do we do that legally so we can, you know, so it's a real project? Because I think the money is really there. You know, it's coming, it's gonna expire soon. And I don't,
You're right, it is supposed to fall off in '25. We went out and bonded last year, and when we did that, we knew that we would take on, the money this year for the bond, but that next year that we would have the fire trucks falling off. So I know you're right, it's
Yeah,
definitely
and
falling off.
so, again, I don't have the answers. I can point the problems.
I know.
I'm good at that.
So what Craig's talking about is, I don't believe it's happened the last 2 years. I could be wrong, but I think the last 2 fiscal years. Prior to that, what we used to have was for new revenue growth from what they called pilots program, which was a solar programs. Instead of saying that was new revenue, that would be part, and again, this is my take on it. Instead of saying this is new revenue and having that roll into the levy, we had set up that, yes, that's new revenue, but it's personal property revenue from solar, because that's really what it is. It has a life to it. So you don't want to say I'm going to have new revenue every year when you know that the life of this solar is going to end at some point, and you don't want to put it into your levy. So what we used to do is we would take that new growth from the pilots program, and we would put a third of it into 3 different buckets of money. And so one of those buckets was for our middle high school. One was to reduce our OPEB liability that we owed, and the third one was for capital and debt stabilization. So it was called capital and debt because the old schedules we used to get 2 years ago would actually break out for us where all our revenue came from, what the split costs would be between the school and the town, and then it would give you at the bottom, it would say, this is the amount left for your capital and your debt, and it would list it all out, and that's how we knew when the debt was starting to fall off, and we had them all listed from what years the debt came from. We don't get those schedules anymore, so we need to get back to it. I think if you had those schedules, you could see exactly what Craig's talking about, and you could see where we would probably were putting aside $200,000, maybe $175,000 every single year for the debt and the capital.
Interesting.
So we need to get back to that process.
You explained that very well. I mean, it was a very.
That's my take
No,
on
and
it.
it was a very successful, you know, we shouldn't be worrying how much free cash we have.
Yeah.
And seeing we can steal $400,000 in the end, now we have 1.5 million. That's not a plan.
No,
I mean, that's just,
Right.
you know, that's not a plan. And the people that develop our plans, you know, they deserve more than that because they're telling you, not you, but they're telling you, I'm telling you 5 years in advance of what's coming.
Right.
You know, so when you get faced with the news that we're getting faced, and again, nothing to do with you, you go, why? We knew at least a year ago, and you knew at least a couple years ago if you just looked. So where's the plan? And, you know, the new plan has to be a certain amount of money has to be dedicated to this. And then we've got to figure out the rest because.
and actually the
Why
way
did that
that's,
stop?
I don't know. But part of that is written into our financial policies. Not all of it, but there are
You're right.
pieces, and I
It
believe
is.
the capital
Has
debt
to be enforced.
stabilization.
It has to be enforced.
Yeah, it's just
My
not
opinion.
being enforced. It is in our policies that we're supposed to follow. Not us, but the town's finance department should be following.
Yep.
Yeah,
Do you have any
but the way
questions?
that
I'm
worked,
sorry.
also, just so you guys know, that fund was established before the whole breakdown of all the expenses that everybody got. So that's why we were always constantly funding our capital programs.
Got it.
True.
So
Yeah.
we gotta get back to that old spreadsheet that I loved.
Any
Interesting.
other questions? Any questions?
Actually, wait,
Fine.
give me a second.
No?
Okay. I think I answered my own in my head, so I think I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good.
you good?
I just have one.
Yep.
So the 700,000, is that just the amount you want to put to start making this reserve, or is that how much would be for a used ladder truck?
So I estimated that would probably, when I did that, that was probably the price of a used.
Used, okay.
Yep. And a new one would be 2
The
million.
2 million,
And
okay.
when I do that, and I'm trying to include some money in there for equipment.
Yeah.
When, this isn't a piece that we're replacing, we take the stuff off and put in a new one. This is something we have to kind of replace and new stuff. So those are estimates. And
Have you
again,
looked
I'm-
at the prices recently, just out of curiosity?
I would say the 700,000 for used is probably about what it is. The 2 million is going up like just crazy. I couldn't even,
How hard is it to find a used one?
it's hard. And the problem with, and I say that, and I've gone on trips to look at these vehicles, okay? I've taken that serious. And there are some nice ones out there. Occasionally you can find them. The problem is, we might be forced to that, but the problem is we're not designing what Carver needs.
Right.
We're designing, and I know it might be hard to understand that. A fire truck's a fire truck. It's just not. Our town, our roads are very narrow, you know, where people have to go, how our firefighters have to work. We don't want a fire truck that we're just gonna use 5% of the time. We want a fire truck that's gonna be used the way it should be, you know, most of the time. And the problem is when you start buying these cookie cutter stuff and they're used, they're big. They're very big. And so now you're forced to use what they're selling. Instead of what
Yeah.
we're normally used to is we customize and buy what we think's the best. And that's why they last so long and they're so effective. So I'm just being honest when I give the two prices. I mean, I look all the time at home and I look, maybe we can make that one work. But the problem is, if I don't even have a number to start with in an account, I can't even give it, I can't even put an offer in.
Right.
You know, if I-
Will this fit in the garages we
So it
currently
is,
have?
so it was made, our new headquarters, if you'll notice, one bay, it's the farthest north,
Yeah.
is deeper than the rest.
Okay.
It's got that hook on it.
Okay.
That was done by purpose.
Right.
That was designed so that bay, it sits 10 feet longer than all the rest. And it's made to go in that truck. Now, it's not in that truck now, we use it for something else.
Right.
But it will go in that truck. To save money for the station, we reduced that 10 feet all the way across, because we just didn't need it for every one of those trucks.
Right,
But that's where that would go, it's all set up to go, and it
Okay.
was planned to go there.
okay,
So, that's an easy way to have,
good.
Thank you,
okay? Thank you, I really appreciate your time.
thank you guys, we appreciate it.
Good luck. If you want, just call.
We will. Mike, I know I didn't have you on the list, but did you wanna, come up anyways? You sure? You guys, I don't think have any requests this year, just next year.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys. We absolutely appreciate this, and we promise we won't call you in again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks for going a little out of order. I just figured, since they were all here,
Oh,
we'll
absolutely.
have them go first, then we can do
Yeah.
our stuff.
That makes more
So-
sense.
Yeah. So I did that, we did the FY '25, so, did I bring the email? I did not bring Bob Fennessy's email, and I thought I had printed it out. Let me just open
That's
it
not
up.
that memo that you handed out?
The memo, no, he also sent an email. I'm sorry, I was having trouble with my printer before I left earlier today. Hold on a sec. I'll just give you his exact. Hold on a sec. So I gave you the list, that's this here. So Bob had said he couldn't make it tonight, he had a family obligation. But he said he put together a list of the capital items and where they stand. That's exactly what we're looking at, these two sheets. This is the one he had attached. He cannot make the meeting tonight, he has a family commitment. As he mentioned earlier, it is his position to allot the 1.1 million of free care, which is in this 1.5. So the 1.5 million is made up of 1.1 coming from their free care, along with $490,000, which was the prior year's amount that we didn't spend because we bonded. So we were in the same, just so you guys know, that's all he wrote. Have a good weekend. This came to me on Friday. Just so you guys know, we were in the same position last year, where we didn't know what we were gonna do. And then because of the library, we said, if we're gonna do that project, we have to bond. That we were tough position last year, so because we actually went into town meeting with, if you looked at the warrant, 3 different
Yeah,
plans.
I remember that.
And we were stuck on which of the 3 plans we were gonna do. If the town had voted yes to bond, we were gonna be fine, and we were gonna be able to go out and bond the library, fund everyone else's request, and then have the 490,000 left, and that's what we did. So that 490 is now being rolled into FY '25.
Okay.
So that's where he's talking about. So that was a rollover, and then the 1.1 of free cash. Just like Craig was saying, that's not how we used to fund capital. And I'll get you guys those old spreadsheets, because I have them saved in Excel, and I can send them out.
Okay.
But we used to get a file, it was like this big, if you printed it. It was this huge, big piece of paper. Whole top was blue, but yes, it was like an older version of a spreadsheet, but it walked you through the entire process. And when we used to get it, I never realized how valuable it was till we stopped getting it.
Yeah.
So we would get that spreadsheet for finance committee, we would get it for, if they didn't have capital for a little while, but when it came back, that was when it was really useful. So we do need, if not that spreadsheet, something very similar to it that walks us through. Because it breaks down for you exactly how you get to the school's 70-ish% breakdown. It breaks everything right there down
Okay.
for you.
Is that because of this finance director does it this way and this one does it this way? Is that
Probably.
most likely how
I
that?
think, yeah, I
Okay.
think that's probably what happened. But anyways, with that, you could see where the capital stabilization fund was coming from, and it was not being funded from free care back then, it was being funded, through the budget process itself, through money coming in, and then your free care did come in, but that wasn't how it was, how capital was being funded.
Okay.
That would have been further down the spreadsheet,
Okay.
just so you guys know.
Yeah, no, good.
And I'll get it for you guys, even though it will be a couple of fiscal years older, you'll at least know,
Like, see what it was.
you'll see how all the breakdowns happen.
Yeah.
It's very helpful, especially if you want to know what's above the line, what's below the line. That spreadsheet is the one you're gonna wanna look at.
Okay.
So I wanna know how we can start doing that saving again. We need to start up, even though it's not a fiscal year,
It's like a big bug flying around.
that's easy to do. But, I think it's important somehow.
I'm sure when the new finance director starts, they'll get back to it. That's part of the financial
Right.
policies that they'll have to adhere to.
Right.
But so when Craig was just talking about the ladder truck and perhaps, maybe making a ladder truck stabilization fund, that would end up being a new policy. If that's what they're gonna do, then they would set up a fund to fund it.
Okay.
And that doesn't fall under us, does it, really?
No, because that would be funded through like operating, and it would build up a balance over time.
So
They
it's
would
not
only-
even four then, that's not considered four in our bucket.
We
His
wouldn't,
bucket list. That's what
no,
he
we
gave it
wouldn't
number
make-
4.
yeah, we wouldn't come into play for I don't think we would anyways, how much they would put aside for that. We could help them try to make that decision of how much they might need. But then they really are gonna come to us when it's time to spend the money that's in
Right.
there. It's more of the request of the spending of the capital than building of the fund of the capital. But I think we should definitely be part of that, because we will end up seeing it when they spend it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I'm sure finance committee that's the committee that would help with that.
Right.
Okay.
So.
So we don't make any choices or anything right now? We're just
No.
kind of sitting here and
Yeah.
getting information?
I think when we have, we need to know if this 1.5 million is definitely it. And then once we know, last year what we did, because the number was moving around a lot, we met with everybody, and then we don't need to vote 30 days before. We just need to vote before town meeting.
Okay.
Finance committee has to have the budget set, so we can have the dollar amount set, but we can make our votes within 30 days of town meeting. So
Okay.
we're not held, we found that out last year, we're not held like the finance
So it could
committee
even
is.
be after the town meeting?
No, it has to be before town meeting.
Before, okay.
Has to be before, but it doesn't have to be 30 days before.
Okay.
So I think last year we were voting right, like, the week of or the week before. We were
Okay.
still up there making votes, trying to decide how we were gonna move forward with this. So we do have on here, I think it's just the planning department. Well, the assessors, yeah, the planning, this is all Tom bought in the school. I wanted to save the school for a separate night because I think they have so many items. They do usually come to us and present what they have.
So, we could just do it a separate item, that's fine, but I do know what we need. yeah, I'm not necessarily ready to prepare,
No, we can have them come.
if you want them to.
They
Yeah.
usually do. We don't,
Okay.
we can pick a date, when we decide. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That looks like it'll be a long one.
They have 10 requests. They're definitely,
Yeah, we
That's
have a.
a-
they
Nine
have
at a
the
time.
most of them.
That's a night on its own, I think.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I don't no,
have-
IT is on here too for 46. IT and the school typically go at the same time, because they used to have them commingled, and I don't think they're commingled anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing, that they were separating.
They were
from the
separating.
town. Yeah, but I don't know, I personally don't know where they're at in the
Okay.
separation. I'm
don't
not
either.
sure it's happened just yet, 'cause that's,
Okay. So yeah, we'll have those two go the same night so we can find out where the split is between the two. To be honest with you, capital funding is before the split, so for operating expenses,
right.
you know. But they will want to know which side of the house to put it on, if it's
Right.
IT versus school.
That makes sense.
Like the district-wide, yeah, see, I have it right here.
The firewall replacement, is that school only, or is that both? Like,
I would hope that it's school only. I know that we did want to do the middle school updates because it's really, really bad, and that's 120.
oh, for the
anything-
library.
Yep, for the library, that's, the parking lot has
Mhm.
been needing to be paved for quite a while, it's really looking bad,
Is that the parking lot at the the high school?
yes.
Okay.
Anything to do with pathways, but that's classroom modernization, so I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
HVAC renovation plan, 0 from Capital Town, so doesn't even touch us.
HVAC. How much is that one? I don't see it.
Let's see, HVAC is 0 from Town Capital, 180K from ARPA.
ARPA, okay. Okay.
The
It looks like that
firewall.
was a grant already funded
For which one?
for the HVAC.
Yeah, it said nothing for capital.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we won't be,
So that's good. The firewall is 60,000
what's the berm removal and swing installation?
in the firewall, is that?
No, it's
oh,
separate for 50,000. 50 this year, 50 next year.
Tech. Right here, let me see. Education technology, 65.
Mhm.
Education technology, 40 for the middle school and the high school.
Yep, okay.
Device Chromebooks, $0 request.
Yeah, those aren't on here, okay.
Firewall, technology exclusive summary, wheelchair minivan,
Yeah, 79.
71 passenger bus, which we should be doing something with that, I would hope, but I mean, I guess that can be put off a year. I don't know, I'm looking oh, here.
So my question with
Okay, so this, so at the elementary school, they have this little indent area where they have,
must be out in the playground.
yes.
Okay.
And they have like wood chips and stuff that they're using.
Oh,
and-
yes,
and
yeah.
They're gonna
back.
redo that whole area because it's a mess, it's an eyesore, and safety is a concern as well.
Okay.
So that's 50,000.
And then it's 50 next year too, so are they trying to set up a
Um,
reserve, do 50?
So, the proposal for 25 is focused on addressing the play area berm in the back of the school. The berm was a design element for the original building. I'm just seeing blah, blah. This area gets high volume. Sitting area and the canopy are used at recess. However, despite many efforts to maintain the hill, the berm itself has become more of a hazard. The rock stairs continue to erode. first level, so it doesn't say anything about
The future, okay.
first, to level the grade, this area, counting for the wall space behind it.
Okay.
And then the second would be to install an additional swing in that area. The swings are always high demand for the kids, and I even know that
Yeah.
because my daughter's like, there's not enough.
Yeah. Okay.
The existing wood chips fall protection to the area would be extended to under the swing area for continuity in the space.
Okay.
So that might be the 2 years. The swings might be the next year.
Okay. Okay. And then the concession, we have the high school field concessions project.
Yes.
Is that the last of something?
So we've been working on that for quite a while,
Yeah.
and we just need to get it finished. And I know
Okay.
that even on rec, they want to use it as well. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that it goes throughout the town that
But I mean,
Building.
that, because I thought we looked into this, I don't know if it was last year or the year before.
there was,
It was like 300 and something thousand.
what does this say here now?
75.
So they've done.
So is that just the remainder to finish up the
I
whole
would assume
project?
So I'll read it if you want me to. Hold on 1 second. Wheelchair. I'm sorry.
So what the school usually will come and we'll get that same packet and they normally present everything.
Right.
I'm sure
Kinda
John's
like
gonna wanna be
All
here
of
for
this,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Due to financial constraints on the project, the town could not add a concession stand, so that, so that 300,000, this is what's needing to be finished, is a
Okay.
concession stand, and I don't think the town was able to rough a basic utilities, so they're not gonna put the high, like, all the utilities inside there, like the refrigerators, it's gonna be smaller.
Okay.
They're not gonna have, I don't think they're gonna have like a stove, they're gonna use, it's just gonna be a
Like
little
a-
more simple
Blackstone, okay.
inside.
Yeah.
The goal for this is to finish what they started in 2018.
Yeah.
So I can see that would be.
That's, because I've seen multiple numbers change with that, that's what I'm wondering. So my only question on the bus, I don't like to go off the bus schedule. It's usually one, replace one this year, two next year, one, like, they go on this pattern.
Yes,
But it seems like they're down 2 bus drivers.
currently,
I only know because I'm affected
Mhm.
on both buses.
right, yeah.
So, do they still need that if they're gonna be 2 buses short, less in the
can-
future?
I can, have conversations about that.
I'm just wondering,
I
if
was
we
gonna
have,
mention the same thing, yeah.
I don't wanna see them go off
Right.
schedule,
If they
but,
hire someone though, and then
Yeah.
the bus, then where are we at?
exactly.
And I do know that to get the buses, it takes a few years to get them. So you can purchase it and then you'll get it X
Yeah.
amount out.
Okay, that's all I'm wondering.
Yeah,
Knowing that there's 2 probably sitting in the bus barn,
Yeah.
not being used,
Right.
no, I agree. Yep.
I hope they get the bus drivers, new bus drivers, because my kids are affected in the morning and the afternoon. So,
It was only
I know somebody
10
had
minute difference.
just got her license and certification,
Oh.
and she started
they're hiring.
a couple months ago, maybe it was.
Oh, good.
working for us. Oh,
Yay.
nice.
Maybe she's got more friends. They need 2 more.
So, I mean, safety is a huge thing. So the elementary school play area, to start that project, I think is really important.
Yeah.
I mean, technology is always also very important, and we do need to make sure that's all updated, the firewall and safety around
Yeah.
that piece.
Do you know, I know Scott Neef and Ron are not here, but have they thought about if there's a priority if something had to go?
I don't know that right this second.
Okay.
About which one could go, but Ron said that he could meet with me.
Yeah,
And,
okay. And we'll have them come in too, so, because I know
think that
John's
would
gonna
be
wanna
nice.
meet with
Definitely.
them. All right, so we'll have to meet again, so we're gonna need to do school, IT, and the assessors/inspection, which is Tom Bott for those 2. So we have three people left. Do you guys wanna pick a date to meet with them? And we'll see if it works for them?
Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
unless you wanna reach out via text for the whole group because of
Does that
Mr.
work
Potter?
better?
Oh, I'm, whatever,
But
I'm up for.
absolutely, I'm open
Okay,
right now, so.
all right. So why don't I do that? I'll put out the text, we'll see if the dates work.
Okay.
And then if they work, we'll schedule another meeting and I'll let Shelby know.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So let's see. Yeah. All right, so still to be determined. Okay. Anyone have any member comments? I always leave this open at the end in case anyone had anything they wanted to discuss or talk about.
I don't.
No?
Not right now.
Okay. So that's all I have. I will let everybody know what date works for everybody and when the room's open.
Yep.
Would you guys want to do it where, no, we'll leave, I don't think the schools come into finance committee. I was gonna say, would you want to do it with the finance committee?
I'm
If
open.
they come in, you're open? Okay. Sometimes it's easier if they're gonna have to go to finance committee again anyways. We'll just do a joint meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So I'll find out when, Alan's planning to bring them in and, you can do that.
Yeah.
Because the school does usually come into finance committee too.
Yes.
I think last year, they may not have, but that was only a timing situation, because we were really crammed last year, but typically they come in every year.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
all right, guys. Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Motion made in second. All those in favor? Aye. All right.
8 PM.
8 PM. The ayes have it. Have a good night. Thank you.